Hello everyone. I just finished a beautiful walk to try and move through some of this bug that seems to be running through a lot of households right now. And I've really felt called to sit and talk about the Four of Cups. And as I was walking, I listened to one of my favorite podcasts in the universe, Tammy Simon of Insights at the Edge, and she interviews Lee Harris about his new book, The Future Human, with Regina Meredith on the Gaia channel, and I followed them for so long. So I'm going to put some links for you to listen to this episode. And it really called me to the Four of Cups. Four of Cups is one of those cards that every time I've pulled it, it kind of irks me. It's like one of those cards where there's always cards where sometimes you're like, I don't like that one, I'm going to pick a new one, or I knew that there's something more to it than what meets the eye and what traditionally the card has been seen as. And currently I'm in this phase, you can call it hermiting, in the winter phase of allowing myself to open to information for writing my book about the universal truths of tarot that seem to be there's deeper levels of universal truths that come through with tarot, and I keep discovering them in these other in the academic world. So in this episode, why it called me to Four of Cups. So the term entropy is a scientific term that describes how the natural world will use chaos or destruction to bring systems to a new sense of harmony and balance. And it is chaos energy. It's very fast and swirling, and it's unpredictable, unfamiliar, and it can feel kind of scary from the human body perspective. And so we are clearly in this state of entropy right now, where it feels like our sense of stability is falling apart. And Four of Cups connects us to cups, which is our emotions, and particularly in the Light Seers Tarot, I love this image. Some keywords that you would think of when you pull the Four of Swords would be seeing the glass as half empty versus half full, and not seeing the kind of a sense of disappointment. There's a feeling of lack of hope. It can be a card if you're feeling very depressed or frustrated or angry. There is this kind of a sense of loss. And with the Four of Cups, generally what I have found is that there's a deeper meaning that the feelings and the place that you're at right now is not feeling like you hoped it would. You are disappointed in the way that something is going and feeling because it doesn't meet your expectations of how you thought it should go. And so why I wanted to talk about this is that entropy, I found that I named my business this because most people wait until it feels like their health is crumbling, their life situation is crumbling, and they'll sometimes come to Reiki as a last resort, right? Or to energy healing or alternative choices like, I don't know where else to go, so I'm going to go and work on myself now, instead of, taking a pill or seeking a therapist to tell me my answers. There's this kind of sense of despair and loss. And so we kind of can wait to that until we actually start to make palpable changes in our lifestyle, in our thoughts, in our physical health, in our relationships. We wait for shit to hit the fan, so to speak. And so with the Four of Cups, what we're experiencing right now in this world is that things are shifting and changing, and there's entropy that's bringing a new sense of balance, but it doesn't feel like how we think it should feel, right? For a big thing that's happening right now, I believe, is our anger is being ignited in the places where we have been apathetic. It is triggering those places in us of apathy, maybe those triggering these places of we believed that our answers lied in a certain place, or our authority or our trust in certain things, and it's like the rug is being pulled out from under us, and that's not how positive change is supposed to feel. But we're in Aquarius season. It is revolution, it is evolution. And we're also in the year of the wheel. And the wheel is the number 10. And it is an up leveling. It is karmic advancement. There is evolving. There is revolution. There is this forward momentum constantly. And when it doesn't, where the wheel can be upsetting or difficult is when you're trying to control the wheel. So those of us, if you are feeling places of anxiety, anger, or a loss of control, the Four of Cups, so the number 4, I relate that in my energy work to the root chakra, all fours. And the fours, I've talked about this, they develop when we're in the womb through about the age of 7. And it really is where we root into our sense of safety and stability, and at the base of our spine and our through our hips, down through our knees, our feet, our bones, our legs, our sense of balance, and our fight or flight system, which is at the base of that spine, are impacted by this root chakra. And so when we are being open to a new level of expansion or evolution, it can kick off our fight or flight system, which is telling us to be discerning about, before you make a move, to see what is this, what is my head telling me versus how can I live from a heart-centered place so that I can respond versus react to this fear that's coming up. And so if you think about our root, it is our place, we walk, we ground, we connect to the earth, our physical reality, we can move, it's how we move through the world. So something that also has been coming up is that as we feel this Four of Cups and the rose-colored glasses come off, and we're in this sense of maybe despair or negativity, to remind us all that we are not all here to be warriors on the front lines at this time. If you are here right now, you chose to incarnate for a reason. And that reason, you may not quite understand your role in the bigger picture. So in the moment, what you can do, if you're not on the front lines, it does not mean that you are hopeless. We are all here to be warriors in different ways of connecting to our heart in the places that have been lost, where the head has been running the show. And so the ways that we can do that, there are so many ways. I'm going to give some examples. I'm not suggesting that you necessarily go do these things. I'm just want to share some ideas of how this may look, and you can decide in your own life, how does that apply to you? If you are your role in grounding into the love and being this warrior of change and responding in new ways might be in this state of entropy. It might be if you drive a bus and your smile changes the mood of the people who get onto your bus, from one of they might have been stuck in a loop and your smile pulled them out of it, and you have a nice conversation. You might be a grocery clerk bagging groceries and share something positive that happened with someone maybe who was in a negative loop. There's a lot of us who, if you are in the healing world, in any kind of wellness world, to be so to up level your game of self-care so that you are your brightest light, so that everybody that you interact with is being drawn to that light. Because right now we are being pulled into more of those lower, darker despair and hopelessness. And so there are a lot of us who are here to just it might take some strong boundaries of not being aware necessarily of all the details of what are happening right now, because that's not going to serve your highest and best. Some of us, our highest and best is to be a teacher, and you are teaching the future generations and opening them up to new ways of thinking that are diverse and open-hearted and critical thinking of what we have the traditions and foundations that we have learned in the past. If you are a parent and you feel like you're kind of stuck at home and you want to be doing something, and what can you be doing? Your impact of the children that you are raising, the children who are born now, are going to be huge in this new level of where the world is headed in a positive way. And so you are helping to shape their root chakra of what is safe. How does joy feel versus fear? And a reminder of you all too that joy and fear can feel the same way in the body. So if you are expanding and opening that joy, like you're on a soul level, you might know that you're moving on to the next thing. And something that also came up is this feeling of like the next shoe is going to drop. I'm working on something right now with my fuzz character that it's feeling like you're just like always waiting for the next shoe to drop. And so there's kind of this fear, and it can leave us almost paralyzed. So there's this feeling of that happening, but that is a sign actually that you are evolving and that you are expanding. It's that thinking mind that doesn't recognize where you're headed and isn't quite sure. So lastly, a couple other examples of how you might be if you are around people in your world who maybe are of that lower frequency. Maybe by you putting some boundaries on the conversations that you have with them, in what you're willing to talk about, you're permissioning them to also have boundaries. So there are so many ways we are all being warriors in our own way. And so if you are despair that you're not on the front lines, or that what can I possibly do, this Four of Cups can really connect us to that. If you think about the number 4, it's the shape of a square or a rectangle, and we are rooted. I've talked about this. If you're going to build a foundation of something, it needs to be rooted in a stable stability, a sense of through our root. And so what if there are corners in your square, if there are boundaries or lines that you feel like you need to prop up in your life. For example, maybe if you look back at your day, and this is something that Lee Harris talked about, but if you were to look at your day and say, oh, my day went kind of poorly because first this happened and then this happened and then this happened. So rather than be in looking at it as the glass is half full, you can say, okay, well, now I learned from that, and tomorrow I'm not going to take that phone call from that person. When I have that, I'm going to carve out that half an hour to go for a walk. So you shift, and that sense of stability that you can create in your own little actions that are rooted in love for yourself will begin to emanate out towards others. And lastly, I think that anything that we can do, our root also connects us to our tribe. It is our instincts. It is that sense of being a part of the tribe, or you can be kicked out of the tribe. And if you think about indigenous cultures and the way that we all lived in our roots as our ancestors, if you did not fit into the tribe, you were excommunicated. So there were certain things you had to do to make sure that you fit into the sense of community. So community is a thing. How can you increase your personal community? If everybody works on their personal community, the community as a whole of our society will begin to improve. And you're not going to see the reactions right away. So don't expect it to be this beautiful thing that you see right away. There is a trust and a faith that what you're doing right now is building. And in this entropy, you are creating these roots, these foundational blocks of where we are headed. Once we get out of this swirling chaos of entropy, we'll be in a new harmony. And so how can you prepare for that with Four of Cups, looking into your emotions about where you're at right now? And so it is, and so it is, and so it is.